So welcome to another Smelly Cat video. This is just a quick video. I've been asked in the past if I could just show people the extraction system that I've got set up in the workshop. So I thought I'd just run through very quick with you what it is I've got set up and what changes I've made recently to deal with the dust and wood shavings, wood chips in the workshop and to keep the air cleaner. So this was my initial extraction system. I think it's about £100 dust on extraction system there. It's got a 100mm inlet pipe that comes in through the bottom there, straight up to the motor. And then, as you can see, the bag is pretty dirty. You could probably do a wash. It's pretty noisy as well. It's a pretty noisy extraction. What I then used to fit this onto was 63mm Axminster extraction tubing set. I bought this second hand. Didn't pay very much for it. I have had to buy some extra bits for it because I've extended it. But that's down the bottom. I don't know if you can see it. There's an adapter that goes in the bottom that takes it from 100mm from the extractor down to 63mm to fit the tube, and it goes round the workshop. You've got two lots. One comes off there, one branches off to the left, which I'll show you in a moment, and the other one comes straight up to this 90-degree bend and across here, which is to my lathe. So each piece of equipment, each piece of tooling has got a shut off gate on it. There's as you can see here. I generally, to be honest, don't use the extraction. I've got it on this flexible hose here. I don't use it too much on the router due to the fact that it probably could do with a bigger hood maybe, but it doesn't work that well on the lathe, so I don't use it all too often on the lathe. I just hoover up or sweep up with a dustpan and brush after I've finished, and that works pretty well, to be honest. I do like a tidy workshop. Next up is the Bobbin Sander. It's the Triton Bobbin Sander. This works really well with the extraction. The extraction system is plumbed in very well to this machine. It sucks all the dust here down through the holes, and I do use that most of the time, especially if it's going to be left on. If I'm going to be sanding for a fair while, I will turn the extraction on and use that with this machine. Then we've got the fret saw. Don't have any extraction on that, and to be honest, generally I don't use the fret saw that much these days. I use it occasionally for the odd little cutout, etc. But most jobs, if I'm gonna do anything very intricate, it goes on the CNC router, the work bee. So the fret saw, it's a handy tool to have, but it isn't used as much these lately. Lastly, on this side is the 6-inch planer, table planer, jointer. This works extremely well with the extraction, and to be honest with you, I wouldn't run it without extraction. If you run it without the extraction, you've got your blades under there. If you run this without the extraction, all your wood chippings, all your shavings come flicking back up through the top. So I pretty much always run this with extraction on. Now the planer is very noisy. The planer is a very noisy piece of equipment to run. So you put that on with the extraction as well, and you don't want both of those two on very long together. So that's the last piece of machinery on this side of the extraction. Then if we come back round, try and make it not too wobbly. What we've got here is, I believe, was my latest tool, which was I invested in the Record Power large bandsaw, which is a Sabre 350. I had a Record Power BS10, I believe it was, bandsaw before this, just like a little hobby bandsaw. It couldn't really cut hardwoods at all. It would just stop as soon as you tried to cut a hardwood. This Sabre 350, I'm well impressed with it. It's been an excellent investment. It can rip straight down hardwoods, oaks, peely, logs. I've cut some logs in half. It's great piece of equipment. Now, I don't use the extraction. As you can see here, it's got 100mm coming out the back there, which also has an adapter down the bottom running into the 63mm. I generally don't use the extraction on the bandsaw that much either. I just hoover it up at the end. Although it's got a big pipe coming out of the bandsaw, it does build up. The extraction does still allow for quite a lot to build up in the bottom. I suppose if you've got the pressure there, it will suck it and pull it away from the blade as it's running. But because the saw is nice and quiet, I generally just prefer the peace and quiet of not having the extraction on when I'm using it. That then comes across over here. We've got I had a cheap second-hand Delta disc and belt sander. That's got the extraction running to it. Once again on a shut-off valve. That runs down. It's teed off there. Comes up. That works extremely well. I will use that if I'm once again having the sander on for any length of time. I will connect that up, turn it on to take away the dust from that. What we got? And we come over and we've got the miter saw extraction. That's also there on a shut gate, and this doesn't work very well at all, to be honest. Doesn't pull off much dust or cuttings from the back of the saw, so generally I don't bother to put this one on either. It will just build up behind the saw, and then I will just hoover that up after I've finished, because I thought it'd be a nice idea to have it added on, but it doesn't work all that well. Then it goes off over here, carries on where it comes to the end of the run over here. We've got two more ports over here. One which is the 63mm port on a long hose here, which runs to the Makita table saw. That Makita's on wheels, so it's got a long enough tube so that you can pull it out and cut big pieces of material with the extraction still on. This one that's not being used here at all at the moment, this used to be attached to a Henry Hoover pipe, which I used to use to suck up the dust and stuff off the floor and off behind the miter saw. But because the extractor in the corner there doesn't really pull enough air, cubic meters of air, it would get blocked up all the time, and if there was any sort of large pieces of wood getting sucked up, the Henry Hoover pipe would get blocked up, and I'd have to keep unblocking it. So I've stopped using that now on there, and I may possibly, now it's spare and just sitting there, I may possibly go up and over the door, and could well possibly hook it up to the CNC work bee there. It's an option that I'm looking at possibly in the future. The work bee is another machine that I don't often use extraction on. I sometimes just hoover it as and when it's running. Underneath I do have a dust shoe that I can modify to fit my water-cooled spindle if I want to use dust extraction on there. But at the moment I just hoover it up as it's running pretty much. And then what we've got here, and I wasn't sure if this one was going to work, to be honest with you. You will see my anal plugs. I have anally labelled all the plugs with stickers. Yep, I know. I am that type of guy that will draw around his tools on the wall. What we've got is the up and over tube. This up and over tube, if you can see it, runs up across the top here. Comes back down. Now, I didn't know if this would work because I didn't know if it was too much of a vertical lift, but it does work, and it works pretty damn well. So I've got my planer thicknesser here, and if you've ever used one of these, you know just how much dust and wood chips they throw out if they're not if they're not hooked up to an extraction system, it will make a mess everywhere. So I was quite eager to get some extraction hooked up onto this, and this works really well. So there again, we've got our tee-off section, and it goes up and over, and it works. It manages to pull it vertically up the up that pipe, goes across, and it works fine. So I'm really pleased with that one. And then lastly, what we've got here is I built a little flip-up router table. That is another one that works extremely well. I've got the tubing, as you'll see there, on the fence, and that works extremely well for taking away the dust when I'm rounding over corners, etc. So all in all, the extraction that's now plumbed in, I'm very happy with. It's on all the machines that I need it to be on. The only last problem I had was the mess that you'd get on the floor or around the machinery. So what I then came up with a little while back was I'd seen these Cyclone systems, and sticking a bag in the shop vac there, they're quite expensive for the bags, and that doesn't take long before you filled the bag up. So I was dubious to whether these Cyclone systems would work that well, but as soon as I got it and tried it, I could not believe how well the Cyclone system works. There's virtually not any dust. So in this barrel, I'd say it's probably maybe a third full. I'm not gonna open it, but it is probably about a third full with dust that's been hoovered up off the floor and from around the machinery. But inside the shop vac, nothing. It literally, nothing really makes it past that Cyclone system and back into the shop vac. I made this little trolley for it, just to pull it around. I thought it would be, I was using them separately, the barrel kept falling over, was getting on my nerves. So the Hoover can be lifted, it can be lifted off. The wheels do just sit through some cutouts that I made in it. It's on some nice rubber wheels, and then the barrel is just it's just sitting on there with some bungee straps in case if you want to take it off fairly quickly to empty it. But this Dust Commander Cyclone works really well and was an excellent investment. That then just goes onto a long Henry Hoover hose, which is extendable, and for a wood workshop, yeah, the floor, etc., everything is pretty clean, because I like to keep it clean and tidy as I can. So thanks for watching. This was just a quick video to show you my extraction system, as I've been asked about it in the past. Like and subscribe, share the video if you can. I'm obviously pretty new to doing these videos, and if you have any ideas of anything you'd like to see, then drop a comment down below, and see you all again soon. Thanks very much.